Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Weekly Voice. I'm your host, Lorelai. This week, we're going to talk about a recent case that has left three children parentless and an entire community shaken to its core because what happened seems to be a random act of violence that could have happened to any one of us. With that being said, let's go ahead and jump in. Clint and Kristen Brink and their three children were an ordinary family living an ordinary life in South Dakota, and they loved it. Clint, who had previously worked in the medical field, specifically in nursing, decided to change careers and went to work for Prairie Farms Dairy as a delivery driver, while his wife Kristen worked as a registered nurse. The family of five lived comfortably and they were happy. Then Clint decided to make a move in his career and moved from his job at Prairie Farms to their sister company, Highland Dairy. This transfer also included a big change for their family, a move to Arkansas. So, supporting each other like they always did, they packed up and headed to their new home, excited for the new adventure that awaited them. Clint was supposed to start his new job on July 28th of 2025. However, for unknown reasons, after making the big move, he changed his mind and didn't take the new job. Maybe he had decided he wanted to go back to nursing or even start a new career path. But either way, he chose to turn down the job at Highland. Whatever his choices were, Kristen stood by his side and supported him, like they always did for each other. They knew no matter what, as long as they were together, everything would always work out. On July 26, 2025, just a few weeks after moving to their new home, the couple, along with two of their children, two daughters ages 7 and 9, set out to do some exploring. They loved nature and anything that included being outdoors, so they found themselves at nearby Devil's Den State Park and decided to do some hiking on the trails, a hobby that the family loved. What they thought would be an ordinary day of fun and togetherness would turn into the complete opposite, a horrific bloodbath, and three children left without their parents. At a little after 2:30 p.m. on that Saturday afternoon, Washington County Dispatch received a call from the park. The caller was a hiker that had been on the trail that afternoon. He said that he had located two bodies and there was a large amount of blood present. After arriving at the park, law enforcement learned that while hiking on the trail, the hiker who had made the call came across two little girls who told him that their parents had been attacked and that they couldn't find them. He got the girls off of the trail and then hiked to try to locate their missing parents. That's when he happened upon a gruesome scene. Two adults, a male and a female, were lying there, and they were obviously deceased. They were Clint and Kristen Brink. Horrified, the hiker scrambled out of the steep terrain and tried to get a signal on his phone so that he could call for help. But because of the spotty, almost non existent cell phone service, he was not able to call 911 right away. As soon as he was able to find an area with a signal, he made the call. Arkansas State Police arrived at the scene and quickly got down to business. They were determined to find the monster who attacked a couple doing nothing except for enjoying a day at the park with their kids. Investigators asked for the public's help. First, they asked that if anyone that was in the Devil's Den area around 2:30 in the afternoon on July 26, if they could look at their photos and video footage, and if they find anything that seems to be connected to the suspect or his vehicle, to turn the footage over to them. They also asked that they don't post it on social media because that could interfere with the investigation. One witness said that they had seen a man emerging from the trails who had a substance on their face that appeared to be blood. This same witness stated that they saw the man drive away in a black sedan down Highway 170. They told detectives they believed the car may have been a Mazda. Later, another witness who had also seen the car leaving the area described it as being a Kia Stinger, which was later confirmed by security footage that the investigators collected from nearby businesses and residents. They released this information to the public, along with another strange piece of information that the license plate of the car may have been obstructed by black electrical or duct tape. Could this have been a premeditated attack? ASP crime scene investigators found a blood trail leading away from the crime scene. This led them to believe this blood belonged to the killer, that he had cut himself during the attack, which is a common occurrence in knife attacks. A lot of times during the stabbing, a perpetrator will get cut because of the knife becoming slippery. So whoever did this would most likely have cuts on their hands. Investigators also talked to the two daughters of Clint and Kristen, who had witnessed this horrific attack on their parents. These little girls were rock stars when it came to helping law enforcement try to find the man who stole their parents' lives. They told him that the man walked up and just shockingly started attacking their father, stabbing him with a knife. That's when Kristen went into mama bear mode, took the girls, and got them to a safe space away from the attack. Once she got them to safety, Kristen went back to help her husband, like any wife would do, to try to get him to safety and get medical help. And that's when she was attacked. It's unclear at this time if she made it all the way back to Clint or if she ran into the killer on the trail as she was going back. But what we do know is that these parents are heroes and that they died protecting their children. The girls also helped investigators create a sketch of the man who attacked their parents. This sketch was released to the public, and because of the time they took to comb through photos and videos from that day, a photo of a hiker that they believed to be the suspect was also released. However, the photo only showed the backside of the person. The suspect was wearing a long sleeve shirt, dark pants, a ball cap, and dark sunglasses. He was also carrying a black backpack. Okay, he was dressed in black, also wearing long pants and long sleeves in the middle of summer. This, along with the tape on the license plate, really seems to be pointing to some sort of premeditation. Maybe not necessarily that he was targeting Clint and Kristen in particular, but maybe planned to attack whoever presented him with the opportunity. On Monday, July 28th, autopsies were done on Clint and Kristen, and like we already knew, their cause of death was from being stabbed, and the manner of deaths were found to be homicides. In the days following the investigation, investigators were able to identify the suspect's vehicle as being the black Kia Stinger. And on July 30th of 2025 at 4:58 p.m., they located the vehicle at Lupita's Beauty Salon and Barbershop in Springdale, Arkansas, which is around 30 miles from Devil's Den Park. Here is what happened at that point, according to the probable cause affidavit. Investigators entered the establishment from the back and front doors and made a general inquiry about the Kia Stinger that was parked in the parking lot of the barber shop. A man that was in the process of getting a haircut spoke up and said it was his car. The man was later identified as Andrew James McGann. While speaking to Andrew, investigators noticed several cuts on his hands. At that point, he was detained and gave verbal consent to investigators to enter his vehicle to obtain his ID. When investigators entered the vehicle, they found a substance that appeared to be blood. Because of the blood found at the crime scene, the cuts on McGann's hands, and the blood found in the vehicle, they seized and transported McGann's Kia Stinger to ASP headquarters. McGann was also taken to ASP headquarters and read his Miranda rights, after which he made statements indicating that he had indeed committed the two homicides. The barber that cut Andrew's hair spoke out and said that she had gotten a bad vibe from Andrew when he came in. She said she thought he was strange that he didn't want his The barber that cut Andrew's hair spoke out to media and said that she had gotten a bad vibe from Andrew when he came in. She said she thought it was strange that he didn't want to write his name on the sign-in book. She said he had dark sunken eyes, but he had long hair in the front that kept down in his face while also looking down the whole time, like he didn't want anyone to see his face. He also told the barber that he didn't want any of his long hair on top cut off. Andrew was arrested only 5 minutes into his haircut, so you will be happy to know that he left there with his hair looking fucked up. Now the police are specifically saying that he made an admission of guilt, but that they're not considering it a confession. At the end of the probable cause affidavit, it says that he was being charged with 2 counts of capital murder, which is a more severe form of first-degree murder. These charges typically involve aggravating factors such as premeditation, multiple victims, which we have, or the commission of another felony during the killings. It goes on to say that he had made a plan to attack and kill another, and that he waited with deliberated purpose and killed 2 hikers at Devil's Den State Park. So, they're saying this is premeditated, but they also are saying that they don't believe that McGann and Brinks knew each other, which makes this even more sinister. He covered his license plate with tape and brought a knife with him to the park. So it seems that he definitely had a plan to kill someone that day, but just not anyone in particular. The Brinks were literally at the wrong place at the wrong time, which makes this terrifying. Investigators held a press conference on July 31st of 2025 after they had made the arrest. Detectives scrutinized the online sleuths and others on social media. They had specifically asked the public not to post any photos or videos online, but instead turn them into law enforcement. People didn't listen, and their investigation was hindered a lot because of true crime sleuths on the internet. People were posting photos of other people and claiming they were the killer, and also posting videos and photos from the park that day, instead of just turning them in to authorities like they had asked. Social media can definitely help in an investigation, as long as it's used in the correct way. But during an active investigation and an ongoing manhunt, people really have to watch what they post, as it could tip the killer off or lead police on wild goose chases for no reason. So, who is James Andrew McGann, and why would he kill 2 random people? And were there any red flags in his life beforehand that would lead someone to believe he would do this? Bill Angelhart grew up around Andrew in the suburbs of Chicago, who back then was known as Andy. They lived in the same neighborhood and played sports together. He said he seemed like a normal kid, but seemed to also be a loose cannon. He would be normal one minute, but if someone said the wrong thing, he would go from 0 to 60 and freak out. He said Andrew never had a girlfriend and had trouble talking to girls, period. At the time of the attack, McGann was a resident of Springdale, Arkansas, and like the Brinks, he had recently moved to the area. Only he had come from Oklahoma. And get this, he was hired as a teacher for the upcoming school year in Springdale, but had not yet started his employment. Yes, this monster was a school teacher. Some people thought that Andrew was getting a haircut that day to try to change his appearance, but detectives didn't seem to think so. He was still driving the same car and didn't seem to have any intention of fleeing. They believe he was getting his hair cut because school was starting the next week. This piece of shit was going to start his new job at a school around kids and go on about his life like he hadn't just murdered an innocent mother and father in front of their kids. He was teaching kids that were the same age as the little girls that witnessed him murder her parents. Hell, I'm not sure where the girls were going to school, but one of them was about the right age to be in his class. That's just crazy to even think about. Springdale Public Schools Superintendent Dr. Jared Cleveland made a statement in order to clear the air and give the parents of his students peace of mind. He said, quote, "This individual has not at any time come into contact with Springdale students or the families we serve. At this time, we cannot offer any additional information due to the ongoing investigation." End quote. After the news of Andrew's arrest, people who had known him in the past started coming forward with information regarding his time at other schools. What they had to say was maddening. It seems that school teachers' disciplinary reports and DCFS cases follow the same standard. They don't follow a person state to state. Basically, if your family has been investigated by DCFS, you can just move to a different state and have a clean slate. And if you're a school teacher who has been reprimanded and disciplined at the school you currently work at, you can just move to another state and get a job at a school again. And your record doesn't seem to follow you. Something has got to change. So let's talk about some of the times that Andrew was at previous schools and his troubling behaviors that he presented. So let's talk about some of the times that Andrew was at previous schools and his troubling behaviors that he presented. In 2022-2023, Andrew lived in Texas and was a fourth grade teacher at Donald Elementary School. It had been reported by several students that Andrew showed a lot of favoritism and extra interest in the little girls in his class. It was said that he would ask the girls to sit on his lap, tickle them, and make comments such as, "I wish I could date you," or "I wish you could be my girlfriend." He would also play tag with the girls during recess. This guy is a creep. He would bring candy and Sonic drinks to class and only give them to the girls. He would even have quote unquote special lunches in his classroom that were reserved for the special girls. It was said that he was exhibiting nasty grooming behavior. It seems some of the moms were oblivious to his strange behavior because they were too focused on how hot McCann was, according to other parents at Donald. Which, in my opinion, even without knowing the guy is a psycho, I don't find anything hot about him. There was also concern that McGann was not properly teaching the kids, as they started failing academically after attending his class. They also said that McGann was unnecessarily competitive and aggressive during field athletic contests at the school. Other parents heard about the things that McCann was doing, which led several of them to file a complaint with the school board. Andrew McGann was then put on administrative leave pursuant to an investigation for poor classroom management, poor professional judgment, and student favoritism. However, an internal investigation was conducted and no inappropriate behavior with students was said to be found. Andrew McGann, however, was allowed to resign. After getting in trouble in Texas, McCann then moved to Oklahoma and was hired as a fifth grade teacher at Spring Creek in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. It didn't take long before parents at Spring Creek noticed Andrew's strange behavior. He was awkward around the parents and would never make eye contact with them during parent-teacher conferences. He had made a joke with one of his students' parents, telling them that he taught elementary school because he didn't like being around adults. It wasn't long before Andrew resigned from Spring Creek. He didn't even make it a full year. He then taught at another school in Oklahoma before resigning from there also. His excuse for this resignation was that he was moving out of town. From Oklahoma, Andrew went back to the Dallas, Texas area and got hired at an elementary school in the Plano School District. He only worked there for 4 days. He then went back to Oklahoma and taught outside of Tulsa. After he left there, he came to Arkansas and got hired by the Springdale School District. Since 2022, Andrew has taught in 5 different schools in 3 different states. That is a problem. So why was Andrew still able to secure a teaching job when he had all these allegations on a disciplinary report from Texas and maybe even in Oklahoma? Well, it's called passing the trash, and it allows teachers, some of who have been accused of heinous acts against the children that they taught, to quietly resign and move to another state, therefore leaving their disciplinary report behind and starting fresh. Like we talked about earlier, Too many teachers have been found to be predators lately, and that's scary because if our kids can't be safe at school, then where are they safe? There are laws in place requiring states to pass on these disciplinary reports to other states when the teacher goes somewhere else to work. However, only 4 states follow that law. That leaves 46 other states who don't follow it, and these teachers can just move and no one knows that they're actually predators. In some state schools, in some states, there are laws in place requiring states to pass on these disciplinary reports to other states when the teacher goes somewhere else to work. However, only 4 states follow that law. In some states, school employees are even given the promise of confidentiality when it comes to their disciplinary reports, as long as they resign. This has got to stop. The priority needs to be to make sure kids are safe and protected, not that a predator has confidentiality. So, why did Andrew McGahn attack the Brink family? Investigators are working on finding a motive, but a lot of people think that Andrew was after the little girls. We know that the Brink girls are 7 and 9, the same age range as McGahn teaches. We also know he seemed to favor elementary school girls. The Brink family also made the comment that Clint and Kristen died heroes protecting their daughters. So, was he trying to take the girls, and that's what started the altercation between Andrew and Clint? Is that why Kristen ran and hid the girls and then came back to help her husband? In my opinion, that makes more sense than him just walking up and stabbing Clint for no reason. But like I said, it's just a theory. I do believe that he was out on that trail for nefarious reasons because he was carrying a knife and dressed the way he was, with a hat and sunglasses and dark clothing. And don't forget the tape on his license plate. Arkansas is a death penalty state, and authorities have already said that they are not taking it off of the table. The girls are currently safe and with extended family, but they have lost both of their parents because of this loser asshole. I hope those girls know every day how much of their parents love them and are well taken care of, and I hope this monster gets what he deserves. I will keep you up to date as this case makes its way through the court system. The girls are currently safe and with extended family, but they have lost both of their parents because of this loser asshole. I hope those girls know every day how much their parents love them and are well taken care of, and I hope this monster gets what he deserves. I will keep you up to date as this case makes its way through the court system. Until next time, stay safe and peace out.